podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Networks Saturday, January 11th, 2020. This is episode 1659. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast comes to you from the LastPass studios. You're focused on security, but are your employees? LastPass can ensure they are by making access and authentication seamless. Visit lastpass.com/twit to learn more. Tech Guy Podcast is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Protect your online privacy with one click. It's that easy. For extra 3 months free with a 1-year package, go to expressvpn.com/techguy. And by Epson EcoTank printers. Now you can kiss expensive ink cartridges goodbye. The Epson EcoTank printer comes with a ridiculous amount of ink. Just fill and chill. Check out EcoTank printers at epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, Tech Guy time. I'm your tech guy. Yeah, the guy who talks about computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography and smartphones and smart watches and all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo is the phone number. 888-826-55. Yeah, I'm a little 5536. 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. You can call us with Skype out or something like that. If you can call a phone number from anywhere in the world, call that number. Should be free. WhatsApp, whatever it is, 888-827-5536. I am a little froggy because I just got back from a week in Las Vegas. Sounds like fun. And actually it was fun, but it wasn't the typical week in Las Vegas. Although my wife did win a little money in the slot machines, which surprises me. She's done that twice in a row now. I told her that's it though. Don't waste it. Don't fritter it away. You got to come home with it. And she did. Proud of her. I also came home with no germs, thank goodness, but I did come home with quite a few videos and pictures of things at the Consumer Electronics Show that's not called CES. It's not called the Consumer Electronics Show, but if I just say I was at CES, nobody knows what I'm talking about. It is a gathering of the tribes in a way. I used to call it Woodstock for nerds, but it's not just, it's far from nerds anymore. It's not geeks anymore. It's mainstream, isn't it? It's mainstream. There were cars there. There were washing machines, refrigerators, lots of TVs. Scott Wilkinson will be telling us about some of the TV stuff. I saw 8K, giant 145-inch 8K screens that looked spectacular, just like the 4K screens did the last time I was there 8 years ago. It's been 8 years. It's going to be another 8 years before I go again. I can tell you that right now because it's overwhelming. Miles and miles of aisles and booths and just tons of stuff. It just keeps going. I would say it was pretty clear that the next TV generation is going to be Micro LED. You're going to hear about Mini LED. You're going to hear about QLED. You're going to hear about all sorts of LCDs because that's the other competition. You're going to hear about OLED, but really Micro LED, and Scott will talk about this, is the absolute future. Really expensive right now. Really expensive. But that's, always the case, right? There's also nothing to watch in 8K, at least not until the Olympics. And even then, I don't know how you would get it. I also saw a lot of two sets of initials, 5G and AI. Come on, guys. A robot pizza maker is not artificially intelligent. Unless somehow it can look at you and intuit what your favorite toppings are or something, but it can't. No, it's just it's a machine, a robot pizza maker. Yes, that was there. I think AMD showed that it has the right stuff to compete with Intel. That's very good news because competition is very good for us. Very good for us. My friend John Gruber, who writes a wonderful blog at daringfireball.net, pointed out that a company that shows off concepts, which is a lot of what we saw at CES. Concepts. In other words, hey, here's an idea we don't plan to make, but isn't this cool? Like Sony showing off its car concept. They're not a car maker. They don't want to be a car maker. Mercedes showing off its kooky car of the future. The OnePlus Concept One. Samsung's robots. All of these are concepts. And as John Gruber pointed out, Apple never does concepts. Sure, they have concepts internally, but they don't show them publicly. Showing concepts publicly is kind of like saying, well, we have all of this, design talent, but we can't make it and we can't sell it and you wouldn't buy it. So we just want to show off how cool our designs are. Okay, fine. I think that there was also a lot of hype. There is always a lot of hype. There was a company called Neon that was there, and it was a very dramatic demonstration of what they called artificial humans. Big screens, beautiful big screens there. The Samsungs are big investors, so they had nice Samsung 4K screens showing off what looked like human beings doing things, talking like a reporter. But they were really realistic, super hyper realistic, like you were watching real people. No, none of this uncanny valley like Tom Hanks in Polar Express. None of this. That's kind of creepy. It looked like a real human. And they were saying these are AI generated characters on the screen. But then you dig a little deeper. I asked the guy, well, okay, is there anybody who actually looks like that? Oh yeah. What do you mean? Well, we scanned a human being. That's a human. Oh, okay. So you're not generating the looks, the body gestures. No. Okay, fine. It's kind of like Princess Leia in the last Star Wars. It's based on reality. I don't call that AI. I really don't. I don't think that's artificial intelligence in any respect. A lot of exercise and fitness stuff, in fact, IoT, the Internet of Things, putting the internet into these little doohickeys and devices, lots of that. Another friend of mine, another brilliant analyst, Ben Thompson at Stratechery, I thought had a really good column, not specifically related to CES, but I think very much related to what we saw at CES. Stratechery, terrible name, isn't it? Stratechery.com. The end of the beginning, he wrote on Tuesday. He points out that in the early days of automobiles, there were hundreds of new automobile makers. In the first decade of the century, 233 new automobile makers. Then between 1910 and 1919, another 168. But really, it boiled down to GM, Ford, and Chrysler. It boiled down to three. The big three. They're still the big three. Yeah, there's European cars, there's Asian cars, but in the U.S., still the big three. And he says this is kind of a model for what he thinks is going to happen in tech. We always assume, well, Facebook's only here until the next Facebook. Google's only here till the next Google. The Apple and Microsoft and Amazon are only here till they're disrupted by the next tech company. He says, that may not be the case. We may actually be at the point now where these companies are so big and so dominant, and I've thought this for some time, so this is why I agree with him, that they're the ones. They're the big three or big five in this case. They're the ones. That's it. And you saw that at CES because everybody had big signs that says works with Google, works with Amazon, works with Echo. People weren't inventing new voice assistants. Oh, there were a few in the corners. But really, they were just saying, no, it works with the ones that exist. I think the dominance of the big five is now done. Is here. Now, he says that's a good thing because that's why he said the title of the article is The End of the Beginning. We're now in the next stage where real innovation can start to happen based on these solid, sometimes they call them platforms, these companies that say, okay, you want to do selling? Amazon. You want to be in the cloud? Microsoft. You want to build software? iPhone. You want to build apps? iPhone. And they're just solid. And that's kind of what I saw at CES too. A lot of innovation, but not innovation for innovation's sake, not the next Facebook. I didn't see the next Facebook. Not the next Apple. Maybe the next, I'll grant you, maybe the next LG or Samsung, 3 big Chinese TV companies, and Scott will be talking about this in a minute or two, TCL, Hisense, and Konka, showing that they can innovate and maybe even out-innovate the Japanese and Korean TV manufacturers. That is kind of the evolutionary thing that does happen. TV is a little different. First, it was us. We invented it, TV and the big American corporations, Sylvania. Remember RCA? Remember those? And then the Sony came along, and Panasonic and Toshiba, these Japanese companies, and then they were beat by the South Korean companies like LG and Samsung, and now here come the Chinese companies. And it's good for us. This is all good for us because competition lowers prices and stimulates innovation. So I think we're seeing all of that. 8888 Ask Leo. I'll talk a little more about some of the things I saw at CES. Put a lot of videos up at our website, Actually, these are all, I think, on YouTube. Twit.to. That's the URL shortener. Twit.to/CES. Bunch of shaky cam videos because I did the video of stuff that we thought was interesting at CES. But I'm back now, and we can talk about that and any kind of tech topic on your mind. RCA celebrated its 100th anniversary at CES, says Scott Wilkinson. We'll be talking to Scott about TVs and more, and your calls next. She is unbreakable, ladies and gentlemen. Try as you might. The unbreakable phone angel, Kimmy Schaffer. Hello, Kimmy.
Good morning.
Hello,
Happy
Kimmy. Yeah. It feels like I've been gone a long time. When you go to Las Vegas.
Yeah, that'll suck the life out of you, won't it?
You know what? I'm actually, Lisa and I, my wife and I are actually thinking about maybe getting a place in Vegas. I like Vegas. I like it.
I haven't been there since
a party.
2004, so I'm sure everything's changed.
2004?
I know, it's been a long time.
You wouldn't even recognize it. I don't think any of the hotels were there.
They've blown a lot of them up since I was there last.
Yeah. And boy, they're building like crazy. The Las Vegas Convention Center where they hold CES, barely, it doesn't hold CES. It's CES is spread out all over the city. There's the Sands Expo Center. They have stuff in the Venetian. Mm-hmm. They have stuff at Mandalay Bay. But the LVCC is where, most conventions fit into like one corner of it. CES is so big, they're actually building a massive extension to the convention center that will more than double its size. And then I think next year it'll all be there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, someday maybe I'll make it someday.
Next year, I'll send you in my place because I'm never going back.
I don't want to go back.
I don't want to go. It's exhausting.
Yeah, I hear people only last like 3 days in Vegas.
175,000 geeks and nerds and consumer electronics companies, 4.5 thousand companies, 4,500 companies. So you can't. I mean, I was able to bring back video of maybe 15. You can't.
Right.
You can't see it all. They had 1,000 speakers alone. You can't. It's not. You can't absorb it.
Sensory overload.
It is astounding, and the total number of media people there, it's incredible.
Yeah.
197,000 online sites.
Wow.
That just shows you there's a lot of little blogs. I'm an online site, so I shouldn't laugh. But I'm just, on 900,000 social media mentions, 5,000 tweets an hour. It's just out of control.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So you've been answering the phone. Maybe I should get somebody on the air.
Yeah, let's take the guy that called from the farthest away. Ivan in Brisbane, Australia.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well,
got a nice accent, too.
Thank you, Kim. I'll say hello to Ivan. First of all, are you surviving the fires? How you doing there in Brisbane?
Hi, Leo. Fortunately, I'm not in harm's way. But it's pretty bad out here, but... they're doing their best.
We are. Everybody in the world is thinking about Australia, of course, because of these wildfires, but especially here in Northern California, where we have a little bit of experience, just a tiny, tiny fraction of what you're experiencing in Australia. And It was awful. You couldn't breathe. People lost their homes, their lives. 1 billion plus animals dead in Australia. Just so sad.
Yeah.
So I hope the world
It's
reaches
pretty
out.
bad.
A lot of, one of the things I did see that was awesome is a lot of social media types, YouTube channels, raising money for Australia. One YouTuber raised $13 million in 2 days. And so, we're just sending our money, if we can, and our love down to you. I love Australia, so take care, please. What can I do for you,
Thanks,
Ivan?
Leo. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Okay. So I've got a Ready NAS version 2 Duo.
Yep.
And I haven't been able to access the shares. So I got Netgear to log in, and their techs have told me that both the disks are corrupt.
Ah. Is there stuff on those disks you need?
Well, most of my stuff is backed up to the cloud as well, but I think there is some stuff on there that I didn't have backups of.
Yeah. Yeah, because that's your backup, right? Your network-attached storage. In fact, I just bought another Synology because I'm going to keep one at work, one at home, and have them synchronized so that so if something like this happens, I have even more redundancy. But, yeah, so the problem with a NAS is that they use fancy technologies. How many drives? Is it using RAID?
Yes, so I was using RAID.
Yeah, what kind of...
2 disks.
2 disks.
Mirroring one another. So that was what I was banking on, that if one failed, the other would be the backup.
So using RAID 1, which is nice, that makes a duplicate. Each drive is a duplicate. And in theory, if it's true RAID 1, either drive can be read if you just pull it out and put it on a computer. You could look at it. Have you tried that?
I took one out. I took both out, and I tried to boot the NAS out individually, and then I popped them back in. And the tech's saying that what I've done probably is synchronized the corruption from one to the other when I put it back in.
Yeah, because in theory, that's not supposed to happen. One dies, but the other one still works. In fact, if both died at the same time, I would suspect there's something wrong with the NAS. But he's saying, no, but you propagated the corruption. So it's not a hard drive error, it's just bad data on the disk, it sounds like.
Exactly, that's what they're saying. The actual hardware itself is fine. The disks, there's some sort of corruption on there. So my actual question to you is whether would Steve Gibson's SpinRite be worth giving a try?
Yeah, absolutely. I can't promise you, because there are a variety of disk recovery solutions. What SpinRite does, it goes through each sector. If you have sectors that are bad, that are damaged, that can't be read, not physically, well, it could be physically, but most often it's soft damage. A corrupt disk maybe means that there's something else happened, that data got corrupted, and SpinRite won't fix the corruption. That's at a higher level, but it will go through the disk and read sectors. If they're hard to read, it doesn't give up as fast as the operating system does. It keeps trying till it gets it, and maybe can recover it. So it's certainly worth a try. But remember that a RAID is much more complicated than just a plain old disk. Although since you're using RAID 1, they should both be kind of duplicate plain old disks. If the corruption's spread, it means it's not sector failure. It means the data is damaged in some other way. But it's worth a try. SpinRite is available from grc.com. It's about $80 or $90. It's certainly worth a try if you can't get it any other way. Sorry that happened to you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, Scott Wilkinson, right after this. Hey, I want to mention our sponsor on the show today, both the radio show and the podcast today, which is nice. And you know why? ExpressVPN knows I love them. It's the VPN I used. I used it in Vegas. I use it as on the road. I use it everywhere I go. ExpressVPN protects your online privacy with one click on actually, I can't find a device that doesn't work on Windows, Mac, Linux, Android, iOS, everything. I've got the ExpressVPN app. I press the button, I'm connected. Now, normally it'll connect to the nearest server. In my case here, San Francisco and Vegas, it'll go to Vegas. They've got servers all over the world, almost 100 countries. And that's one thing you might want to be aware of. You don't have to pick the closest service. With ExpressVPN, you can be anywhere in the world. You can emerge onto the internet. Well, let's say you want to watch Doctor Who, and you want to binge it, right, on Netflix UK. say I'm in London now with ExpressVPN, then you log into Netflix and boom, you get all the Doctor Who episodes or the Star Trek episodes because that's the UK Netflix. You could take your TV watching the next level, unlock movies and shows only available in other countries using ExpressVPN. It hides your IP address, lets you control where you want sites to think you're located. If you love anime, use the Japanese Netflix at ExpressVPN. It's so awesome. Not just Netflix. ExpressVPN works with any streaming service. It works with Hulu, BBC's iPlayer, YouTube, you name it. There are lots of VPN choices out there. ExpressVPN is the one I choose for a lot of reasons. Of course, because it works with all the streaming services. That's a big plus. But also, their privacy policy is exactly right. Some free VPNs will actually sell your information or they'll inject ads into your traffic. That's how come they're free, right? ExpressVPN, less than $7 a month, a very reasonable cost, and they do zero logging. In fact, their trusted server technology, and this has been audited and proven by third parties, their trusted server technology makes it impossible for the VPN server you logged into to record anything to the hard drive at all. No information about you, zero. So your privacy is protected with ExpressVPN. It's secure. And the other thing, it's amazing. It's fast. There's never any buffering, never any lag. You can literally stream in HD from any country in the world. That's amazing. No problem. ExpressVPN. If you go right now to expressvpn.com/techguy, you'll get an extra 3 months when you buy a year. That makes it the best deal possible. expressvpn.com/techguy. You'll support the podcast. You get to watch what you want. You'll get to use the internet securely, even in a scary open Wi-Fi access point in Las Vegas. You're safe. expressvpn.com/techguy. We thank them for their support of the Tech Guy podcast. We thank you for your support by using that special address. expressvpn.com/techguy. He walked 500 miles, Mr. Scott Wilkinson. Our home theater geek on the Tech Guy Show, contributor at techhive.com, and my partner in crime at CES this week. Hi, Scott Wilkinson.
Hey, Leo. What fun was that, huh?
Oh,
that was
man.
Great.
Now, you wear a pedometer the whole time.
I do.
How many miles? This we could make a pool, a betting pool. How many miles did Scott Wilkinson walk this week at CES?
Well, it was a little less than last year because I didn't go to the press day, press conferences on press day, but I still put 22 miles on my pedometer.
I would walk 22 miles. Yeah. So let's see. 1.6 miles on Monday for me. 7.5 miles on Tuesday. So that's 9.1. Wednesday, I walked 5 miles. That's I didn't quite match up with you. Thursday, apparently I wasn't wearing my watch. I walked no distance at all. And Friday, I walked 1.5 miles. So I did about 10, 15, something like that.
Yeah.
Nothing like you, my friend.
Well, I also went over to the Venetian, and that was a lot.
Spread out all over the place.
It was spread out all over the place.
And you don't even try to see everything, do you?
Oh, no way. There's no way. Any one person can see everything.
Yeah.
I focused on TVs, as is my want.
Okay.
And you and I spent a lot of time going around to these different TV places, and there was so much to see only in that respect. Not to mention cars and AI and IoT and...
I think the TVs are the most interesting thing pretty much always at CES. Starting with the entry to the central hall, the main entrance, when you go through a waterfall display by LG. Just hard to describe, but it's a giant ceiling of TVs. It goes probably 100 feet in both directions, and they have coordinated video. It's just gorgeous. It's beautiful.
It is. And these were bendable OLEDs.
Yeah, they were curvy.
They now make.
Yeah.
So they were curved, so it was called the Wave.
So that's one thing that I definitely was a trend, which is that they can now make these screens curve in any shape possible. Royole, who showed last year the first folding phone, had screens bent around cylinders. It had screens in all different... Bending OLED screens, apparently no big deal, and everybody had foldable screens and lots of TVs. In fact, LG once again showed its roll-up TV.
And not only roll up, but roll down as well.
Well, there's innovation. Turn it upside down, and now
put it upside down.
Yeah.
Yeah, LG had a bunch of really great stuff, including a 48-inch OLED gaming monitor.
Oh, I loved that.
Which was super high pixel density, so it was meant to sit 3 feet from instead of 10 feet like most TVs.
Yeah.
So you still couldn't see any pixels, but it was super sharp and detailed. They've got the response time, input lag down to well under 10 milliseconds, 4K. It's an OLED. I mean, you don't see many gaming monitors that are OLED based, and it just looked phenomenal. Variable refresh rate, which is very important for games. Because they sometimes have a high frame rate if there's a lot of action, and they can scale down to low frame rate when there's not a lot of action.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
Which is super cool. And if you just put it on a regular TV, you can end up with all kinds of weird artifacts because the game is trying to do that, but the normal TV won't. So now a lot of TVs, LG was making a pretty big deal of this, some other companies as well, that they now support variable frame rate in the form of NVIDIA G-Sync or another one called FreeSync. So, gaming is becoming pretty important. That plus the lower input lag times, which we saw a lot of at CES.
We also saw a lot of 8K TVs and
tons of it.
The new technology, which is Micro LED. I was blown away by the 8K Micro LED.
Man.
LG had a 145-inch screen, but that's not even the limit. I mean, you can make it any size.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You can. And in fact, I think Samsung had the largest one at 292 inches.
The wall.
Yes. And that one's even available.
Well, did they have a price for it?
Well, no, they don't have a price. If you have to ask, you can't afford it.
The wall is huge. Huge wall.
But it's pretty amazing. You basically you're looking at LEDs, red, green, and blue LEDs, microscopic ones that are sending light out directly. It's not passing through an LCD panel. It's not doing anything. You're just seeing it directly, so it can get super bright. And you can make it any size you want.
How far off are we from micro LEDs in our house? I mean, obviously for normal people, Shaq probably has one already, but
he probably does. Bill Gates probably has one already.
But for normal people, I mean, otherwise they're millions of dollars, right? I mean,
yeah. We're certainly a few years away. I'd say maybe 5.
Okay,
just a guess.
Okay,
but I would say it somewhere around 5 years. As you know, everything digital comes down in price once you can scale it.
Right.
Scale production. But the problem is the production of these micro LEDs is very precise. You have to place those micro LEDs just exactly perfectly. And as you know, it's a tiled system. So you get delivered a bunch of these 1 foot, 2 foot square tiles, and you have to put them together to make a big wall.
We were able to see seams in some of these during certain content, not all content.
Correct.
So that's not a good thing, obviously. You don't.
No, and the better you can put it together so you can't see those seams, obviously the better it is, but probably the more expensive it is.
Yeah, it is dramatic. I mean, these big walls are. In fact, we have video at our website, twit.tv/events, of Scott and me looking at some of these walls, the LG 145-inch, and they're vivid. They really capture your attention.
And super bright.
That's interesting, too. You don't have to darken the room for these?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Conca had one in a brightly lit hall that still looked incredible.
They actually had 2. They had a 118-inch 4K and a 236-inch 8K.
Yeah. You kind of feel like you're looking out the window, it's hard to describe. I mean, it's very vivid. Yeah. I told my wife as we walked by the Conca, I said, our future, maybe not next year, 5 years from now.
5 years from now.
We might have a whole wall in a room that is just micro LED 8K.
Yep, exactly right.
Yeah.
Now, if you can't afford that, you could go with another trend at CES this year, which is called mini LED. So they're slightly larger, and they're basically the backlight of an LCD TV.
So it's really different technology. It's not direct view. It's still an LCD. It's just a different kind of backlight. It's still an LCD, but it's a different kind of backlight. Instead of, say, 1,000 LEDs behind the LCD panel, and maybe 100 or a couple hundred or a few hundred dimming zones, you've got tens of thousands of LEDs behind the LCD
panel and tens of thousands of dimming zones. So you get much better resolution of the brightness to darkness areas. You don't get haloing around bright things on dark backgrounds, things like that. It really is a significant improvement. And TCL, you're going to be able to buy that this year from TCL. That's one of the highlights, I think, of the whole show for me in terms of practical applications.
So is it better to wait if I know a lot of people, this is, I think because the Super Bowl is coming up in a few weeks, this has become the big TV deal season, right? A lot of people buy TVs in late January.
Sure.
But would it be prudent to wait a little longer and maybe get one of these mini LEDs? Mini
LEDs. I would if it were me. I'm not so big into the Super Bowl.
If you liked your TV, wait.
If you really like your TV, I would definitely wait. These TCLs will be out in the second half of this year.
Nice.
So those are going to be great.
Scott, are you going to write about this at techhive.com?
Actually, no, but I'm sure TechHive has plenty of other contributors who are writing about it.
CES was wild. Well, I'll tell you, here's the deal. Scott will be back on the show. There's lots of video at twit.tv/events. And he did a great tour. I think we hit all the big TV manufacturers and talked about them. So that's a good place to go to see more of this. Scott Wilkinson, home theater geek, techhive.com. He's my man when it comes to AV. Thank you, Scott.
You bet.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Scott's segment on the show.
Thank you so very much. By the way, I did get over to the Venetian to see the other light field display. You and I saw the Sony one, and we were not very impressed. Neither of us were. The one I saw at the Venetian, that's the real deal.
Oh, crud.
Yeah.
We missed that one.
Yeah.
So it was better than the Sony demo.
By far. By far.
Interesting. That's good to know. All right.
Yeah. Now, it's not, that one is, they're not building it for entertainment purposes at this point. They're building it for things like medical imaging.
Yeah, because if you're looking at a MRI, those are three-dimensional anyway. You would like to have a three-dimensional view of it so you could rotate it and see different slices.
This just looked phenomenal.
Yeah.
Really, really good. Yeah. And as he pointed out, the guy I talked to, the CTO of the company, you couldn't really do it until you had a super high resolution panel to begin with, which is why he needed 8K. And I said, well, what about, I keep hearing about, well, what's next? 16K, 32K? He said, give me as much as you possibly can, because you have the two-dimensional spatial resolution, but then you lose some of that when you extend it into the third dimension. And so the more you have to begin with, the better the image will look in 3D. And the Sony one was not true light field. His was. His was true light field.
I wish we did get over to the Venetian yesterday, and I wish I had spent more, or Thursday.
Good luck finding it. They were in the Seagate booth. I mean, the Venetian is where the Sands is also, and that is massive just by itself.
Oh man, we wandered. Lisa and I wandered Thursday for hours trying to find just a handful of, because there's so much crap.
It's true.
There's a guy that had a Keurig muffin baking thing and stuff like that. It was just there was so much stuff. Yeah. And then if I had only known where to go. Oh well.
Well, I'm sorry I didn't.
No, that's the way it is at CES. That's just the way it is. You can't.
You did see the toilet paper bot.
Yeah, which is not a product. So
no,
there you have it.
But it's hilarious.
Of course. That's going to get #1 coverage. Yeah. Charmin bought special placement at the front door of Pepcom's digital experience because they know that's on a Monday. The CNN people are going home tomorrow. They got their shot. Okay, we got it. We're going home.
We got the toilet paper bot.
Yeah, that's all that matters. We shot it too. I confess, we shot it too.
You shot it too, because it's amazing. It's like
funny.
What?
It's funny.
It's funny.
Yeah, I asked them. They said, "No, we're never gonna.
We're never gonna make it.
This is not.
Product.
This is just to get your attention, just to make you say the word Charmin."
Right on the air.
On the air. They did it. They succeeded.
By the way, I am wearing my digital experience Pepcom T-shirt.
That's
today.
a nice T-shirt. I neglected to turn in my
You should have turned in your ticket to get one of these T-shirts. It's pretty cool.
Oh, well. Sometimes you miss out at CES.
Well, you can't get to everything, that's for sure.
Yeah. I did like the floating chair, like Wally, Chumley saying, and that was,
I didn't see that.
That was to the left as you go in the front door at Pepcom. I mean, these guys obviously paid extra money just to be at the front door.
Just to be at the front door.
Because they know the media is lazy.
Right.
and they get a lot of coverage as a result. Three guys sound like a big band, and all thanks to the best drummer in rock and roll, near Pert. Passed away this week. Leo Laporte. The tech guy, 8888, ask Leo. Go to line 3. They say Lex is on the line from Richmond, VA. They say, hello, Lex.
Good morning, Leo. I was just practicing my drum rudiments. The only comparison between me and Neil Peart is we both use 2 sticks.
Oh, but was he amazing? Oh, my gosh. It's such a loss. Such a loss.
What a legend.
Yep.
Leo, you know that Google has announced what they're calling end-of-life dates for Chromebooks, and I wish they'd call it end-of-support.
That's a better way to describe it, and you nailed it, because the Chromebook's going to work perfectly well.
Yeah.
For years. This stuff doesn't wear out. It makes me so angry.
Us too. You've sold a bunch of those through me. My 98-year-old mother-in-law is using a Chrome box now very successfully. But end-of-support dates, how safe are they going to be going after those dates? And if you have a VPN on, does that add to its safety?
That is a great question. You know, we address this with Windows all the time, especially since the end of life for Windows 7 is 3 days off. And in that case, I always say don't use Windows 7 after end of life. You know, upgrade to Windows 10.
Yeah.
Google does not typically go for very long with these devices. New hardware will have 6.5 years of auto update. Some of the older stuff is already timed out. All that means is you're not going to get the next version of Chrome OS. The thing is, Chrome OS is so fantastically secure by itself.
Yeah.
It's not like you're using Windows, which has potentially all sorts of problems as you add programs and so forth. You can't even add programs on a Chromebook. You can only run extensions in Android. I would say, boy, it's, as long as she doesn't need tech support.
Right.
Because that's one other thing that stops. So tech support stops, but the critical thing is software patches, fixes for security flaws. I would say it's fine. I would say it's okay to keep using it. I hate to say, hey, 6.5 years, you got to buy a new one. That's crazy.
Yeah. Does VPN turned on add to the security?
Not really. I mean, she's not going out. Grandma's not going out to coffee shops and using open Wi-Fi, or is she?
And I'm asking on my behalf, too.
Oh, for you, too. Yeah.
I've got a 200 Asus, $200, and it's been completely adequate for a couple of years, but it's going to June.
So here's the deal. The VPN takes care of one kind of threat, but not all the threats. So there's two potential threats here. If there is a security flaw in Chrome OS or any operating system, it means that if you go to a website where somebody has written code to take advantage of that flaw, they might infect your system without you knowing it. VPN will not protect you in that case. VPN will protect you against somebody on the same network as you monitoring what you do or trying to inject stuff into your traffic or even using the fact that you're on that network to get into your system. That, with a Chromebook, is not going to be a problem, period. So I think the VPN is not going to make a difference in that regard. Your big risk is that there is some flaw in Chrome OS that Google refuses to fix that allows a bad guy access to your system. It's a drive-by attack, basically. As you go to various websites, they could infect you. But even then, remember, unlike Windows, which is a general-purpose operating system, the Chromebook can't do much. So I think that you're still, it's very unlikely there's going to be an exploit that's so significant that you're going to have to say, "Oh man, I gotta do something." I don't think it's going to happen, so I wouldn't worry about it. The only big thing that will happen is at some point a site will say, "Well, your version of Chrome is out of date and you can't use this site," but that's much more than 6.5 years off. That's a long time.
I'm reading some things that indicate they may not really stick to the.
Well, that's the other thing. How serious are they? My guess, and even Microsoft did this with the Windows XP, if there is a serious show-stopping, oh my God, we got to fix this flaw, they're going to push out a fix.
Yeah.
So really what's going to happen is you're just not going to get the latest version of Chrome. You're going to be stuck on whatever version is current for some time. And at some point, you're going to start seeing websites say, oh, your browser's out of date. But I think that's years off. I would not worry about it. When that happens, then you might want to say, okay, it's time to spring another $200. I mean, let's face it, you're getting a lot of your bang for your buck here. A couple $100. This laptop's going to last years and years and years. That's pretty good.
That is, yeah.
It's probably $20 a year that you're paying for that laptop. That's not so bad.
Yeah, agreed. Well, thank you, Leo. Appreciate your perspective.
Yeah, I'm glad you asked. We don't talk about it much. It irks me, and they do the same thing with Android, although the time frame is even shorter. It's just a couple of years. It irks me that, but this has always irked me in the tech space, that these perfectly good devices, phones and laptops and, TVs, they don't wear out. It's not like a car. They don't wear out. They last. They could last potentially decades. What wears out is the patience of the company that's supporting it. They lose patience. And you can understand from a business point of view, they don't want to devote a lot of resources to something they already sold. So they only support it as long as they absolutely have to, because they want you to buy a new one after all. They didn't make any money from that. Google's in a slightly different situation. They actually do make money every time you use their browser, because those ads, right? And every time you use Google search. Google pays Apple, I think it was $12 billion last year, $1 billion a month to be the default search on iPhone. That's how valuable it is. So Google still makes money on you. So maybe there is a better, I can see why Microsoft might say, oh, we don't want to support Windows 7. We got your money 10 years ago. But there really isn't much of an excuse for Google to say, well, that perfectly good Chromebook is not worn out. Everything about it is practically brand new, but we're not going to support it because we're tired of that. There's no reason for Google to do that, if you ask me. They make enough. They can keep a couple of programmers patching it. They can do that, and we really ought to hold them to that. And man, what are they supposed to go in the landfill now? This perfectly good laptop, it's working fine. What's changed is it used to be every few years your laptop was too old and slow to use anymore because software moved on. But that hasn't happened in years. Processors aren't getting that much faster. It's not like there's something, you can't do. There really isn't much of an excuse for this, I'm afraid. I'm sorry to say. So yeah, hold Google's feet to the fire. Let our Chromebooks go. Don't let them go. Do not let them go. Keep our Chromebooks going. And you're right, they shouldn't call it end of life because the thing is perfectly fine. It's end of support. Just end of support. David in Venice Beach. Hi, David. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Leo, how are you? Thank you. Is Scott Wilkinson still there?
He is. Scott, are you?
Oh, good.
Yeah, you got a question for Mr. W?
Here I is.
Thank you, guys. Yeah. Well, coincidentally, my question is about home theaters. I have two rooms. The first one, I'm on my computer. I can watch any website I want with videos and stuff. But when I go to my theater room, where I have a PlayStation 3 and a projector, I can only watch my DVDs and Netflix, which I, by the way, don't have anymore. Now, I was wondering, is there a way to connect my computer, which can play movies and websites, that my PlayStation cannot? Is there a link that I'm not thinking about that I can go from one room to another, whether it's wireless or not, or with wires?
Your TV probably supports it. I don't know about your PlayStation. If you wanted to, you could cast from your computer to your TV. Most TVs.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I don't have a TV. I only have a projector. I got to pull down.
Yeah, but that's a TV, isn't it?
Well, but it probably doesn't have a cast built in.
Does your TV have an HDMI? Your projector have an HDMI port?
Yeah.
Okay. So you can get a Google Chromecast.
Yep.
35 bucks. It's just a little device. It's designed exactly to do this. You plug it into the projector, and then Netflix on your phone or your laptop. Almost everything now supports Chromecast. You just cast it to that projector. You don't have to worry about your PS3. The other thing you could do on your PS3, somebody in the chat room, Scooter X, is saying you could also put Plex on there, and then use Plex, put a Plex server on your PC, and then you could use Plex, which is a great solution. I should have thought of that. Thank you, Scooter X.
I have no idea what these things are, but I'll look them up.
Well, that's all you. Yeah. All I can do is tell you their names. Then you'll have to Google. Plex is software that you install on your PlayStation Store. Chromecast you can buy at store.google.com.
All right, but it's not a laptop; it's a tower. So does that make a difference?
Nope.
Okay.
Thank you, Scott. Thanks for the question.
Sure.
Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Scott is going to leave us now, so no more questions for Scott. let's although I could answer, I didn't even let Scott answer that one.
That's all right. I would have given the same answer.
Yeah, and honestly, I had 2 minutes, so I had to just run through it really
you had
quickly.
to yeah. I get it.
Yeah, the time was
I was curious
fleeing.
what projector he had, that's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, Plex would be the thing to do from his computer. It sounded like he wanted to do mostly from his computer.
Yeah, which Plex would work. You have a computer, be a Plex server, and you're in Plex on your PlayStation. But there's Chromecast works on computers too. So
yeah,
either one of those would do it.
Yeah, either one of those would have been great.
All yours. I'm getting a cup of Joe.
Go get a cup of Joe. So let's see. Tim Elliott was asking about the lifespan of OLED. And he says most recently I don't know who they are, implying that OLED has a shorter lifespan when talking about micro LED. I don't know. I don't know if anybody has done any good studies on lifespan of micro LED. I assume it's pretty high. On the other hand, they have to drive these micro LEDs really hard to get the kind of brightness that we're seeing. So that would imply to me that their lifespan would be shorter than if they didn't have to drive them that hard. Now they've, I'm sure, taken that into account when they built the micro LEDs, designed them, and so on. So they're designed to be driven hard. But you drive anything hard, anything electronic, it's going to last less time than if you don't drive it hard. I mean, there's just no two ways around it. But OLEDs last years and years and years. So I wouldn't really worry about that. Now, the one big difference between OLED and micro LED, both of which are self-emissive displays, by the way, is that the micro LED can get a lot brighter. And this gets back to the driving it really hard problem. But be that as it may, micro LED can get a lot brighter than OLED. So it's better for high dynamic range content. LCDs can get a lot brighter than OLED, so they're better for HDR content, but they don't get as deep black, which makes OLED better. In my opinion, I prefer the deeper black to the higher brightness. But that's partly because I watch in a darkened room with dark walls, dark neutral gray walls. So I don't need it super bright. That's more important if you're in a room with ambient light, like a living room or something like that, in which case OLED still works fine in most cases, but it's not as good as a higher brightness display like LCD or eventually micro LED. Now, one thing I didn't mention in my segment there, maybe I'll touch on it next week if Leo will allow me to do more CES summary, because there's a ton more that we didn't get to talk about today. But one of them was an announcement by Dolby about a new version of Dolby Vision, called Dolby Vision IQ. Now, this was developed to solve the problem that many people had with that one episode from Game of Thrones. You might remember, if you're a Game of Thrones fan, you certainly remember, there was this one episode, maybe was it the last one? Was it the finale? I don't remember now. One of the last ones, that was so dark that people complained that they were just looking at a black screen. And the main reason for that probably was because they were watching in a room with ambient light. That scene, or those scenes, were meant to be played in a dark room. And if you watched it in a blacked out room, you could see the detail that the content creators put in there. But if you watched it in some ambient light, you couldn't. It washed it out. And so what Dolby IQ does is it uses the TV's sensor, and most TVs have ambient light sensors now, and they will adjust the image so that if you've got ambient light in the room, you'll be able to see the detail. I didn't get to see a demo of it, but I read about it. And I think it was on Digital Trends. I can't remember now. The person who wrote about it said, you know, they showed a demo of, here's one with just regular Dolby Vision, and here it is with Dolby Vision IQ. And in ambient light, the Dolby Vision IQ version looked a lot better. So I think Dolby did that in response to that particular episode of Game of Thrones. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Let's see here. Oh, Loquacious, I'm so glad you're watching the videos that we did at CES. Beatmaster asks, what are the news on TVs offering both Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus? There aren't very many. Samsung does HDR10 Plus, but not Dolby Vision. In fact, in the Innovation Room, their private room that they do every year, they showed a demo between Dolby Vision and HDR10 Plus. And, you know, they looked very similar. Both of them use what's called dynamic metadata, which is for every scene or even every frame, they have information about what's the peak brightness, what's the average brightness, and then other parameters of the image, so that the processor can adjust things as needed. It's much better than HDR10, which uses what's called static metadata, which has only one value for the peak brightness of the entire program, be it a movie or a TV show or whatever, and the average brightness. But that works okay. I mean, certainly it looks better than standard dynamic range, but it doesn't allow the TV, the picture, to adjust itself. And it's a real problem if, for example, in a 2-hour movie, there's one pixel at 1,000 nits or 2,000 nits or 4,000 nits, and everything else is much less. The TV is going to see that that value for that one pixel in one frame, say. I mean, that's the extreme case, but if that's the case, then everything else is going to look really dark, too dark, in fact. So that's why we prefer dynamic metadata. And Samsung, for some reason, didn't want to use Dolby Vision, and so they came up with HDR10 Plus, which is HDR10 with dynamic metadata. So there you go. I can't think off the top of my head of TVs that offer both. It would seem kind of silly. Panasonic might, now that I'm thinking about it. They don't offer TVs in the U.S., consumer TVs anyway, but they might do both. Somebody in the chat room might know the answer to that. So let's see. Compter asks, is there a reason Sony did not release a replacement for the A9 series at CES? Well, they did release. Where's my notebook here? Can't find my notebook. They did release a new updated version of their OLED and of their LCD TV. They didn't make a big deal about it, though. They are incremental improvements, not major advances in technology. That's it. Holy smokes, we're out of time already.
Thank you, Scotty. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smart watches, our travel guru, Mr. Johnny Jet, coming up in just a little bit. Of course, we're talking about CES 2, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. My favorite thing at CES, and it took me I think 4 or 5 days to find it, way in the back, a little booth. Often these are the most interesting booths. A Russian fella who moved to the States, and with the permission of its inventor, has created a $99 kit Apple I computer with an original chip for the 6502 microprocessor, an Arduino to do the keyboard and screen display simulation. He got Woz's approval, and Woz said, "Yeah, I like what you're doing. It's cool. Use our ROMs," and so forth. And so that was for $99 to own an Apple I. Kind of was my dream back in the late 70s, early 70s, maybe mid 70s. Now you can have one. No soldering required. That was kind of fun. There's little things like that you see at CES. Little entrepreneurs. There's a part of the show it's in the basements of the Sands Expo Center that really feels like a science fair, where a lot of young kids, a lot of university students are showing off their prototypes for products they want to sell. In some cases, real products like that Apple I computer. And I think those things really are, to me, the most exciting part. Not the big company, the giant booth with the super plush carpet and the $1 million TV set. I like seeing the little stuff. It gives us a peek at what people are thinking about. We interviewed an Italian company. I don't think this will ever make it to the States. They called themselves the Keurig of olive oil. They had a little capsule olive oil squeezer. You subscribe. I don't know if this is going to fly, but they've sold them in Italy. They send you little frozen capsules like Keurig, like those little coffee capsules but instead of coffee, it's olives. Fresh olives, and you put it in the squeezer and squeeze a little cup of olive oil out of it. Only in Italy, right? Micah in Maine. My friend, the airline pilot guy's friend. Hello, Micah. Oops. Did I press the right button? I think I did. There he is. Micah, talk to me.
Oh, good. It was a dead line for a little bit. Good to talk to you, Leo.
Yikes.
Yeah, couldn't hear a word, but I was afraid that I was gone. Anyway, I have a very close friend who has adopted some orphans, or at least she does it fiscally, in Guatemala, and with a program that she's with, and she's going down to visit them for the first time at the end of January.
Isn't that wonderful?
Which is just fabulous.
Yeah.
Isn't it great?
Yeah.
She uses U.S. Cellular, and she has a Motorola G6, and it's time to get a new phone. So I convinced her, or I think I convinced her, to get an iPhone 11 or 12 rather, and
11.
She wants to.
If she could get a 12, 11, yes. I would say send me one.
Right, an iPhone 11. And I said, get it, and we'll move your SIM card into it. And I'm with T-Mobile. I'll set you up with my account on an eSIM so that you'll have data and texting while you're down.
Oh, nice, very clever. Very clever. Yeah, because you get a dual SIM iPhone. The eSIM is one SIM, and that's an electronic version of that little SIM chip. And then you can put a SIM chip in, and you can get both. And then you choose one for data, one for phone calls, that kind of thing. So she could still get her phone calls at her regular U.S. Cellular number. That's a clever idea.
U.S. Cellular has told her that unless she buys the iPhone from them, you cannot get U.S. Cellular because they don't use, the only way you can get a phone, an iPhone, an unlocked iPhone, or an iPhone that uses an actual SIM card is if you purchase it from U.S. Cellular.
Well, that's not true at all.
I didn't think so.
Apple sells them unlocked, and I'm looking at the unlocked one I have right now, and it has a SIM slot. In fact, I just took my my T-Mobile SIM out of my old iPhone XS and put it in my 11 Pro Max. It worked just fine. So U.S. Cellular may be saying, he may be saying it won't work with the U.S. You could put a U.S. Cellular SIM in it, but it won't work. That may be what he's trying to say, and I can't verify that. I haven't tried that. But it will work with T-Mobile. It'll work with other cell carriers. And Apple does sell unlocked iPhones. So I'm not sure why that would be an issue. The one trick that you sometimes have to do is for data, set the APN. And sometimes, in theory, all of these carriers will do the setting automatically. The iPhone will see the access point name will see that the network has changed, or you have a new network, and it'll say, okay, and download the access point name settings and automatically set that up. But occasionally in the past, I've had to, and you can Google this, you say, what are the APN settings for U.S. Cellular? And then you can go in and change those directly in the iPhone. If you have any problems, you'll know there's a problem because data will be funky. In this case, you probably don't care because she's going to use your T-Mobile data anyway.
At least for a month while she's
right. Ultimately, she wants it to work. I'm not a U.S. cellular support guy, so I can't tell you what he was thinking. There may be a reason to think about that, but...
Well, U.S. Cellular, as you know, is CDMA, and I know that if you put in a CDMA SIM card, that's got to be the primary card. The eSIM cannot be CDMA. It must be.
Oh, that's interesting. It's CDMA, yeah. So, boy, that's nowadays. Are they? So they haven't moved to LTE?
I believe they are LTE as well, but it's primarily a CDMA shop, and because even with T-Mobile in some places in Maine, I'll see it switch when I'm
That's probably because you're in a rural area that they haven't yet upgraded to LTE. Almost all carriers, as far as I know, are replacing, it used to be Verizon and Sprint were using a technology called CDMA. The T-Mobile and AT&T were using a technology called GSM. GSM's widely used around the world. In Guatemala, almost certainly there's no CDMA towers. It's an older technology. The good news is everybody's moving to LTE. You can have CDMA over LTE, but that's just how you're encoding stuff. And so any LTE compatible phone will take a SIM chip and will work just fine. Again, I guess one thing you could do is just try it. You maybe have her put her U.S. Cellular SIM in do you have an unlocked iPhone?
I sure do, but it's an old success, but it should be just fine. And
see if it works.
It worked just great.
See if it works.
Just fine.
Yeah. So I bet you it will. The CDMA might complicate it. For a long time with CDMA, there was no SIM chip at all. You had to call the carrier and say, activate my phone. Here's my IMEI. Here's my serial number. But now with SIM chips and LTE, LTE uses a SIM chip. It's generally, you get a new phone, you put in the SIM chip, and it works. So, again, I'm not a U.S. cellular expert, so I would...
well, that's great.
Yeah. I would try before she spends a lot of money, I guess is what I'm saying.
Well, I figure we can go down and check it out or actually, again, have her put her SIM chip in my phone and put her SIM chip in a phone at the Apple Store and do it from there.
Something that might be worth checking out is Google Fi. Google Fi, which is Google's kind of version of cellular, uses Sprint, T-Mobile, and U.S. Cellular. They'll use whatever tower is the best, as well as Wi-Fi. And it's very inexpensive.
I love Google Fi, Leo, but it won't work with an iPhone.
Does not work with an iPhone, but she has a Moto G6, which it will work with, and she could get a new...
But it's dying, unfortunately. It needs to be replaced. So
if she really likes her Moto, she'd get the new Moto, put a Google Fi chip in it, get a good price. Yeah, Fi will work with an iPhone. It just doesn't do that switching from Sprint to T-Mobile to U.S. Cellular. So it actually, in fact, John just came in with his iPhone and a Google Fi SIM in it, and it does work, but it only uses T-Mobile. Basically makes it a T-Mobile phone.
Right, and she doesn't have T-Mobile where she lives, so that's why
but she has U.S. Cellular, so that's my point.
If she had a U.S. Cellular.
Yeah, if she had a Moto G, whatever she gets, or a Google Pixel phone and put a Fi chip in it, that actually probably would work everywhere because it does. Google uses U.S. Cellular as well as Sprint and T-Mobile. That I think is a clever idea. It's $20 a month for unlimited voice and text. $10 a month, $10 a gigabyte. Pardon me, for data. You pay as you go with the data, and it is the same price globally. I think phone calls might cost a little more, but unlimited texting and data globally. So that's another option. Thank you, Micah. You're doing a nice thing for your friend. I think that's a wonderful idea. And I think your plan should work. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo, the phone number. Kara, San Diego. Hi, Kara.
Hi. Well, I have two questions, but the second one, if you don't have time for it, it's okay.
I'll give you all the time because you were so patient, you're hanging on. So go ahead.
Okay, well, I just happened to think of this question this morning, and it's interesting you're talking about, some older people using technology.
Right.
And my mother had a stroke about 5 years ago that affected her right side and does not speak. She speaks pretty well, but sometimes it's a bit fuzzy.
Mm-hmm.
And then this year, her best friend had a similar stroke, and neither one can really write letters to each other.
Oh.
So, yeah. And I just wondered, one of them's pretty high tech and the other one's not. But I wondered if there was some really good voice to writing technology.
There is.
That might overlook some,
Yeah. So
too.
Google's made a big deal about this. In fact, at their last developers conference this past summer, they showed how they're working with people with different abilities, stroke victims, people with speech issues, to make their voice assistant compatible. And I think to some degree what they were showing was a proof of concept rather than something they're putting out. But it is getting better and better. So of all of them, I think Google is the one that's closest to what she wants. So an Android phone, in fact, one of the things I love about the newer Android phones, the Google Pixel started it, but I think it's now coming to other Android phones. They have a dictation system that it's a voice recorder. I like it so much I put it on the front home screen of my phone because it will record audio, but it will also transcribe it as you're going. And it's the voice recorder that comes with the new Google Android 10. And in that case, she could send it as a message. There would be text, but where there were imperfections, her friend could listen as well. Is there some reason they don't call each other or video call each other? They prefer to write?
Well, because they're 90.
Yeah.
And
that's just how it is. And yeah, that's how that generation. I think we've lost something actually by not doing more writing, to be honest with you.
Is this adaptable to a Chromebook?
Yep.
Or not?
Yep. Chromebook has it built in. It doesn't have the voice recorder yet, although if her Chromebook has Android on it, she might be able to download that. But there's that little button on most Chromebooks that says bring up the Google Assistant. You can dictate in the Google Assistant. So she could just launch. The easiest thing to do would be to launch a text editor, for instance, the Google Doc, word processor, and then start dictating into it. There'll be a command to dictate. And you can see what it's writing. You can see how close it is, and she can edit it as if she needs to or not. In most cases, I think it's pretty darn good. One thing the youngs do these days, I know probably the 90s could do it as well, is as a joke, they never fix autocorrects. They enjoy the serendipity of some of the silly things autocorrect does, and they all know that's just autocorrect. If it's kind of goofy, it's autocorrect. And I bet you she and her friend would have a lot of fun with. It's not, you get the gist of what's going on, and every once in a while a weird word comes in. But Google's gotten so good at this, I think.
How do you tell Google it's not the right word?
You could text with a keyboard. You could text edit it. I don't think there were. It's a good question because in the other things like Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is a voice dictation system, you could say back, correct that word, and things like that. I don't think Google's done that. I don't know. Maybe somebody knows, but I think that it's you expect that you would just use the keyboard to fix that. But like I said, the youngs are in such a hurry now. These kids, they just say, "Oh, fine, that's close enough." You'll get what I'm talking about.
Right.
And it's actually kind of funny.
Yeah, I've seen some too that are pretty funny.
Yeah. There used to be a whole Twitter feed of "darn you autocorrect." So I think that's a good start. Let me tell you something else I think they would really enjoy, and it's just something to think about. Google makes a screen device, the Nest, Google's Nest Home Hub Max, I think is the name. You can see it at store.google.com. It has a camera and a screen, and they can video call one another.
That's a great idea.
And I bet you they would love it. And the thing is, they don't need to do it on their phone or anything. It just sits there. It's like a TV. It just sits on the counter. It's tilted just right. And they could say, and she could literally say, call Hermione, and it would just call her, and they could talk to each other, and they'd see each other and talk to each other. And honestly, it's practically like visiting. My mom and I do it, and it honestly has saved our relationship because I can't get out there to visit her as often as I'd like, and I think it does a great job.
So you have to buy 2.
You need one for each side.
Right.
They just a couple of hundred. They discount them pretty regularly too.
Okay.
I highly recommend them. I think they're a great choice. It's a great way to communicate. Johnny Jett, our travel guru, coming up. Dr. Mom says, but they'd have to do their hair and put on makeup to video chat. You're absolutely right, Dr. Mom. My mom, 86, and I do this with my mom, by the way, Kara, and she loves it. My mom, 86, we do FaceTime using Apple because she's an Apple person. She says, wait a minute, don't call me yet. I have to put on my makeup.
Oh, God.
86 years old. But you know what? She loves it, and I think they would love it. There's also Facebook. If they're on Facebook, I don't know if they are, but Facebook makes a similar device.
Yeah.
So if they're on Facebook, they could do it that way. I don't like to plug Facebook because I don't like Facebook, but if they're on it, then it might be an easier thing for them. So they call that the portal, the Facebook portal. And there's a variety of them. There's one even that goes on a TV set. So she can sit in front of her TV, which is kind of cool. That has Amazon's Echo built into it. So the Google one has Google's Assistant. This has Amazon Echo built into it. You can go to portal.facebook.com and learn about the different ones. There's one, the Portal TV goes right in front of the TV set. And so she'd sit down, she'd say, call my buddy. And it would ring in at the other end. And then her friends say, oh, hi. And they would talk. I bet you they'd have it on all day. My mom has me leave on the, I had the Echo Show, same thing, same idea. While we're cooking dinner, we'll leave it on so she can be with us in the kitchen. And it's pretty amazing. I mean, it really makes her feel like she's part of the family. It's really great. So that's another thing to look at. But they might have to do their hair. I admit. Johnny Jett. I feel like I haven't talked to you in a whole week.
It feels like it's been more than a week. So how was Las Vegas CES? What did you fly there, by the way?
Southwest. Okay. Although a number of people really like Alaska to Vegas. And so the nice thing about Alaska, you get a seat assignment.
Yeah. So what did you get? Early boarding? You got.
I always buy the early boarding so that we can get on
and did you get a good seat, or was it already full when you got on?
No. I was A12, man. I got an exit row. Yeah.
Exit row. Good.
Yeah. No, I was very happy.
That's the way to do it.
I actually I love Southwest. They're friendly. But I don't go on long flights. I was looking at the Southwest flight out to I think New York, and you had to stop in Chicago and Detroit. And I thought, wow, that's not a flight I want to be on.
Right. Well, I just booked a JetBlue Mint flight.
I love Mint. Oh, I man. Do too.
And, if you book really far in advance, you can get it for $500.
Mint is basically JetBlue's first class. It's lie flat seats, coast to coast. It's the only regular lie flat seats, I think, coast to coast, right?
And they're great. Well, American has it. I mean, depending on where they fly. I mean, American has lie flat between New York.
The food is good. The service is good. It's just I really love Mint.
Yeah, I've only done it once, but I was looking at flights from Boston to LA, and I'm like, American wants to charge way more.
I know.
And and actually they don't have lie flat on the Boston route anymore. Right. They did for a little bit.
Right.
And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm not playing the freaking flyer game anymore. And by the time if I bought coach, and then I buy a upgrade for a better seat, like getting the boarding pass A, you're spending almost $100 and bags. So, I've really spent about $200 more than I normally would. So, those are the times when you splurge, is when you book far in advance. Yep. And if you're booking, and I'm going to be with my family, so I'm checking bags, and we're going to have probably a lot of bags because I've had the baby. But anyway, those are the kind of things you got to think about. But, I saw at CES, the Delta CEO gave a keynote. Were you there for that?
I didn't see his keynote, but we went over to the Delta booth. First time an airline has had a booth at the Consumer Electronics Show. And they were showing, and we got some videos of really cool stuff. They have baggage handling exoskeletons. So their baggage handlers could lift. It was so cool. We didn't get video because you couldn't see it, but they also had a demo of normally get to an airport, you see all the flights and stuff. Right. They had a demo of a technology where you scan your boarding pass, and then with cameras, they know you're in where you are in the airport, and they show just you. Hi, Johnny. Your flight is at gate 43. It's leaving in an hour. And it was such a cool technology. They say they're going to put it in airports where everybody gets a unique individual screen.
Yeah, they call it parallel reality, and I'm like, and they're using a startup called Misapplied Sciences, and it just blows my mind. I mean, that's amazing that only you can see that.
We'll see how well it works. It worked at CES.
Right, but what's the point anyway? If everyone has a phone, they might as well just send it to your phone.
You know what? That's
instead of spending the money. But
on the other hand, what a pain it is. You go in the airport, you know your flight's somewhere. You got to go up your screen and scan hundreds of flights to find your gate.
For sure.
Wouldn't it be cool if you walked up the screen and said, "Hey, Leo, I know where you want to go. Go that way."
It's hard. It's difficult to fathom. But, they also introduced a whole bunch of things. By the way, I don't fly Delta very often. I used to a long time ago, and I do think they're one of the best run airlines in the U.S.
Good. I think they're very good, yeah.
But I don't like their freaking flyer. They call them Sky Miles, Sky Pesos.
If I'm going Sky Pesos, if I'm going through Atlanta, I'm going Delta. That's their
without
airport.
a doubt.
Yeah.
So, and I flew Delta a few weeks ago when I was in New York, and I went down to Palm Beach because American doesn't fly that route.
Yep.
And they were great. I mean,
I
always find that if you're flying Delta and you're sick and you call them up, or someone is sick, like my dad got sick, they waive the fees.
Nice.
Other airlines are like, sorry, you bought a cheap ticket. But I really think Delta is doing a good job. But also what I like about what they announced at CES is that they have a new binge button for their TV shows.
What's the binge button?
So if you're on a flight and you want to binge on a TV show, you can hit the binge button, so you don't have to keep hitting next movie.
I need a binge button in the house.
It's really funny, and also
that's the only way to watch TV. It makes me mad that Apple TV and HBO 1 week at a time. Please just do what Netflix does. Give us all the episodes all at once, so we could just binge it.
Right, for sure.
Because I lose track. I'm stupid. A week later, I go, "Who's that? What's he doing? Why is he saying that? Who are they?" It's no good. I need to see it all at once.
Yep, and they're talking about having content when you check in for your flight, 24 hours. You can start watching using their IFE, their in-flight entertainment system, the moment you check in. That's
nice.
Pretty, yeah. And then the other thing I heard is that they're going to start testing, allowing people to use their Bluetooth headphones on the plane, because you're not supposed to use Bluetooth.
What? No, I always use my Bluetooth headphones. I see people with their AirPods in their ear. Every flight. I know
you do, but I don't think you're supposed to use
no,
Bluetooth.
I've been on flights where they said it's okay to use Bluetooth, so it's probably airline specific.
Possibly, but I remember one time I was using a Bluetooth mouse, and the flight attendant flipped, and I was
wrong.
like, "What?"
She's wrong. Bluetooth is so short range. There's no way it's going to affect anything.
It's only 30 feet, right? Yeah. So I figured. But anyway. That's one of the things I saw those announcements. But anyway, I thought that was pretty cool. I do have a website for you.
Yes.
So flightconnections.com. Mm-hmm. Flightconnections.com, just the way it sounds.
Okay.
So this website is great for not only aviation geeks like myself, but anyone who's ever wondering, like, what routes fly that particular route, actually. So what airlines fly that particular route. So if you put in San Francisco or LAX or London, a major hub, and you're going to just see the whole map come together. It's a Google map they use. And where it's useful is that, they'll tell you how many times they fly. Like, for example, they say for London, LHR, London Heathrow, they fly to 218 destinations in 82 countries. And I love going to Heathrow just to see the, plane spotting, just checking all the different airlines. But they'll also tell you what are the cheapest airports, or what are the airports near you that are cheap to fly? So, from Heathrow, London City's right there. Gatwick was only 25 miles away. There's even one listed I'd never even heard of. The airport code is SEN. It's London Southend. I'd never even heard of it. I've been to all of the other ones except Luton. But
I always wanted to land on the airport in Toronto that's on an island. So I would try that one. This is cool.
You've flown that, right?
No, not. I've always flown directly.
You ever flown Porter? You got to fly Porter Airlines. Porter Airlines is a great airline. And they only fly small planes from either Boston, New York, or Newark, Chicago.
But see, this would be, you could go to flightconnections.com and you could enter that in and find out. And you can buy flights on this too, right? I guess that's,
you can. Yeah. For sure you can. But I like it just to see what's out there and to explore and daydream. Actually, I just love that.
It's fun to see the flight paths of these different flights too. I love
for
that.
Sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Good.
But I mean, if you're a nervous flyer too, and you look these up, and you can see how often there are flights going on, so you do not have to worry about the different things.
I hear little Jackie coming in the room. Hello, Jack. Jet. Johnny Jet is at johnnyjet.com. He's on the Twitter at Johnny Jet. All the stuff he talks about on the show, he tweets out. You can also follow him, and you should follow him on Instagram. You got travels planned?
I do, actually. Not for another week, but I will be going.
Oh, he will never tell us where he's going. We know he's flying Mint, though. Thank you, Johnny. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. So you must be going to Boston.
Well, that's for May. That's not till May.
That's for May.
Right. So you got to book for Mint. I find that you really need to book far in advance to get the really
save
cheap
money.
rates.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Not always, but
because when I visit Mom, that's the way I like to go. I go to Logan, and then I can drive down to Providence.
Yep.
And it is nice if you can afford it to go Mint. Although honestly, it's such a 5-hour flight. It's not the worst thing in the world to be sitting, even if you had a middle seat.
No, but when you're traveling with 2 little kids,
Mint would be better. Yeah.
And you really one's going to be a lap baby.
Yeah.
So
it's you're gonna have fun. That's
nice. It will make a big difference, and it will actually we'll look forward to the flight instead of dreading the flight.
We have to go to St. Louis in March for Worldwide Technology.
American, or
is that the best American?
Well, American used to have a hub there.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what's going on in San Francisco. You could look at actually flight connections, and they will tell you which ones. I know. There's some low fare carriers like Allegiant. You don't want to fly that.
No, I'm not a fan.
No, I'm not a fan either.
Yeah.
I'd much rather spend more money. And let me look at this real quick.
Yeah, we flew Spirit once. It was the worst experience ever.
I've never flown Spirit. I booked a ticket once with them. I went to check in, and they were trying to tell me, I had to spend this amount of money
for everything.
For my carry-on. I was like, you know what? Forget you guys.
I
canceled my ticket.
Wow.
I walked away, and I rented a car. I was flying from Fort Lauderdale to Tampa.
Yeah. I mean, it's great that there are low-cost airlines, so people who can't afford to get a fancy trip can, sacrifice.
Without a doubt. So SFO, you got to fly Southwest or United. So
I know what you're thinking. Is it time for the tech guy? Leo Laporte, the tech guy, your tech guy, here to answer your questions at 8888 Ask Leo. Let's talk high tech. On the line right now, Kevin in Missoula, Montana. Hello, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Leo.
Afternoon to you, sir. What can I do for you?
Hey, thank you for all the advice and suggestions that you've given us.
I'm full of it, aren't I? Yes.
Yes, you are. I need some advice now. It's time to consider putting our information up into a cloud.
Yes.
I've never made that move before, and I'm kind of uncomfortable, but maybe you can help explain a few things to us.
Sure.
Okay, so what we do is we got 2 laptops. One's a Hewlett Packard.
That's, by the way, that's when people start looking at the cloud, when you get multiple devices. If you only had one computer on your desk, you don't need the cloud. But if you've got 2 or 3 computers, a computer at work, a phone, a tablet, blah, 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 all of a sudden, you want all your data everywhere. Plus, the cloud has another advantage. Putting your data, by the way, cloud is a terrible name. You're putting your data on another computer, a server out there on the internet. That's really what's going on. And the server has a physical location. It might be North Carolina. It might be Washington State. There's all different places. Ideally, any cloud you're going to use is going to have multiple servers, multiple operation centers so that your data is super safe, multiple copies. They're going to respect your privacy. This is the big one that concerns most people. And they're going to keep your data safe and secure. They're not going to let somebody snoop into it. That's the thing that most bothers people. The advantage of the cloud is your data is safer probably in the cloud than it is on your home computer. So what are your questions?
So what we have is not only do we have those two laptops, but we each have a Samsung Galaxy S10e.
Yep.
We each have a Samsung tablet.
Yep. See what I mean? Suddenly the cloud becomes a sensible plan.
And we have a Samsung television, smart television.
Okay.
So what is the difference because Samsung provides a cloud service also.
Yep.
And I have a Google Cloud account that I use.
Yep.
So I'm trying to, I guess it's a little bit confusing, and maybe I need to make a decision of which route I possibly prefer we should go with.
Yeah, it's often a good idea to pick one to save money, if nothing else, and put everything up there. There are price differences. So the big cloud companies are believe it or not, Dropbox, which you might not have heard of, but they were the original company to do this. Google Drive, you already have an account. Microsoft if a lot of people use Windows, use Microsoft's OneDrive. People who use Apple products use Apple's iCloud. That's the most expensive of the bunch. The least expensive, I think, is Google Drive. Amazon also offers cloud services. Usually people use Amazon as more higher-end professional types who are willing to go through more hoops. How much data, first of all, do you want to back up?
Well, I tell you what, on my Google account, you have up to 15 free Googles, and I've only used 5 gigabytes.
Exactly, and that's a lot. Most services like Google's, Dropbox and Microsoft offer you 5 gigs to start for free. Google's very generous there, and I think their continued pricing is also very generous. So if you want to get more, I actually pay for, I think, 2 terabytes from Google, and it's very affordable. So,
right, and so we get a lot of videos now from vacations and stuff. So whenever we're traveling and we want to share videos or show people, we can have access to that information on any device.
A couple of reasons you want to use a cloud. That's one, obviously, is to have the same data on multiple devices, or at least accessible. You don't even have to download it in that case. You can just stream it from Google. You may also want it for backup purposes. Those videos, you have copies locally, but because you also have them on Google, you don't have to ever worry about data failure. You have multiple copies, and having one in the cloud is always a good idea. So that's another reason people use it. They also use it for a third reason, which is to share data. All of the cloud services allow you to say, send a link to a buddy. And so if you say to Aunt Zelda, hey, we got a great video of the family reunion, you could send her a link and she can see it on her system. That's a third reason people like cloud storage, for sharing data. You do want to consider how much data. Remember that you're going to be uploading it. So unless you're uploading it over a long period of time, if you have more than a few hundred gigabytes to upload, that's going to take a long time, right? But if you're doing it over time, there's also free things you should keep in mind. If you're an Amazon Prime member, they, for free, will back up all your photos. Google will do the same with its Google Photos service. So photos are kind of handled automatically for free. If it's home videos, Google will also back up those home videos for free. So those shouldn't go against your quota for Google Drive. That's more for backing up data, documents, that kind of thing. The other thing to keep in mind with cloud services is it might be more than just storage. With your Google Drive, you also get Google Docs, which is word processor, spreadsheet, and slideshow software. So some of these companies also offer cloud services to go along with your cloud data storage.
So what about the Samsung? My issue is that we have 5 Samsung devices.
Yeah, don't use Samsung. It's
okay.
It's convenient, but First of all, Samsung, it's not their business. So for instance, they had a music service called Milk. They discontinued. I think you're better off to go with somebody who's in the cloud data business. That's not Samsung.
Good, good advice.
Yeah, for convenience, it's nice because you have a Samsung phone. But you could put any service on your Samsung phone, any of them.
Okay, one quick question while I got you on the phone. My significant other, she has a Toshiba computer, 7, Windows 7. The date's going out here in the next day or two. What's going to happen?
It won't stop running. It will just not get any security patches, which means it's more and more increasingly dangerous to use. What she should probably do, and this is advice for everyone using Windows 7 right now, apparently Microsoft, which in the first year of Windows 10 offered a free upgrade to all Windows 7 users, they never turned that off. So what you should probably do is upgrade that Toshiba to Windows 10. Anything that can run Windows 7 should be able to run Windows 10. Windows 10 is more secure. It will continue to receive updates. It doesn't look much different. She's not going to have a lot of change anxiety. It's going to look pretty much the same. And then she'll have an up-to-date operating system. Which will
does she still have that? Is that still available for free upgrade?
Microsoft says it's not, but everybody who upgrades says, "Well, I upgraded." So what you should do is Google Microsoft's Windows Media Creation tool, and you can download a Windows 10 installation ISO and put it on a USB key. And then install it on our Windows 7 machine. It'll install right on top of it. And as long as her Windows 7 machine is authenticated, which it obviously is, she's been using it for 10 years, it should install Windows 10 and authenticate it. And now you're running Windows 10 for free. Normally it's $139. Apparently Microsoft is so anxious to get everybody upgraded, they're willing to do it. So you'll see, it'll say, what's your serial number? You don't have to put it in. You download it and you install it. You don't need a serial number. And everybody who's tried this tells me it just upgrades to Windows 10 silently and painlessly.
Very good. All right. Thank you very much, Leo.
If she hates it, she does have 10 days to go back, or a couple of weeks to go back, but I would just stay with Windows 10. You're welcome.
Okay. Hey, enjoy the game.
Oh, yes. We have a big game coming up. Thank you. Are you calling from Minnesota? Oh, Montana, you're probably a Vikings. No, are you a Vikings fan out there?
We're Leo Laporte fans.
Thank you. So you're rooting for the good guys.
Well, we're just finishing up watching our college game that we played for the James Madison.
Oh yeah! Congratulations.
Yep. Well, we didn't. Well, so we were the Grizzly football team, and we got in the playoffs, but we didn't make it that.
Hey, getting to the playoffs is a big deal.
Yeah,
that's pretty good, especially for the Grizzlies. Well done. Yeah. Thank you, Kevin.
Have a great weekend.
You too. Ba-da-ba-da-bum. Tech Guy Podcast brought to you by Epson. As long as we're talking about the EcoTank printers, let me talk about the Epson EcoTank printers. I like the EcoTank printers for a lot of reasons, but I also have to praise Epson for courage, real courage. Because if you're an inkjet printer company, you know that there's a pain point. You know those cartridges, they run out, of course, in the middle of a print job. And that means with a cartridge, because they can't hold a huge amount of ink fairly frequently. You also know those cartridges are ending up in the landfill. There's got to be a better way. And I think Epson got the idea from, I know a lot of photographers with, by the way, Epson makes the best photography printers. And I saw a number of photographers who hooked their photography printers up to tanks to feed into the inkjet. And I bet you that was what inspired Epson. They said, we can do better by our customers. What if we came up with a tank printer, a printer with a ridiculous amount of ink in the box, thousands of pages worth, so it doesn't run out all the time. It makes the ink less expensive. It's a really great solution. With every Epson EcoTank printer, you get up to 2 years of ink in the box. And when you go out and buy more bottles, you get another 2 years. So you can you'll go to the office, you'll get your EcoTank, buy it today. The next time you're getting ink in 2021, you can say to the office supply store, I'll see you in 2024. That's how long it lasts. I mean, it's. I haven't bought a second set of bottles. I've had our EcoTanks, I think, 2 years, and I haven't had to buy more. Supersized, easy to fill tanks. Now, the reason I say it's courage is it's just a different economic model. Plus, of course, when you buy the printer, you're getting all that ink. It's going to cost a little bit more. And Epson thought maybe people won't get that we're saving the money in the long run. People get it. Epson told me they started these in Brazil just as a test market, and they flew off the shelves. They couldn't keep them. They said, you know what? People are smart. They understand you're saving a ton of money. They're more convenient. It's really a revolution in printing. It's changing the way people print. And it was a brave thing to do, but Epson, congratulations, they did it, and it's been a huge success. Less frustration, more time to work on the things that matter. Why don't you get an Epson EcoTank printer for yourself? Print all the documents, all the tax forms, all the reports, everything on your task list. By the way, gorgeous color, absolutely. It's got most of them are 4 tanks, black, magenta, yellow, and cyan. You fill those up, and you're good to go for a long, long time. When you're thinking about the perfect printing solution, think about the Epson EcoTank printer. Then you too can just fill and chill like Shaq does in those ads. Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Transform the way your home or office prints. Do away with out-of-ink frustration. Save yourself some money too. EPSON. Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. EcoTank printers just fill and chill. Epson. Exceed your vision. I've been an Epson boy since the very beginning, since that MX80 dot matrix printer I got with my first computer. And ever since. Epson.com/EcoTank. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers and the internet and home theater, digital photography, CES, smartphones. So a lot of folding phones at CES. Still wouldn't recommend them. I still wouldn't. I saw the Galaxy Fold. I guess Samsung's going to have an event February 11th. And it's expected they'll announce the next generation of Galaxy Fold. I do have a friend who bought a Galaxy Fold for $2,000. She says she's had no problems with it. But every time I look at these folding phones, you know, the way they work is they have flexible screens. There's always a little crease. There's always a little line, and sometimes even crinkles across the screen. I just don't see the reason to do it. You know, the theory is you get a folding phone. Oh, it's a normal size phone, except it's going to be thick, but it's a normal size screen in your pocket. But then you pull it out and you want to watch a video, you unfold it, and now it's like a baby tablet. Yeah, no. No, I wouldn't. I don't. Just don't. They're very expensive. It's brand new technology. You do see a lot of folding screens now. With OLED screens, it's possible to print a screen on plastic that can be bent and folded. That's nice. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. Just because that should be painted on the wall at CES. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. You'll see a lot of coverage because the mainstream media is pretty lazy. You'll see a lot of coverage of things from CES like, well, Charmin was there with the toilet paper delivery robot. Oh, local news loves that story. Except it's not a product. They're never going to sell it. It's just to get on the local news with the word Charmin, just to remind you. Look, and they even got on this show, didn't they? I talked to the guy who invented the robot. It's cool. I think he was a college kid. The theory is, I don't even care. I don't even want to talk about it. I don't even care to talk about it. I went over to the booth, and they said, they showed me the robot. It's walking around. It's got a toilet paper roll on it. It's walking around. It's got a little Charmin bear front. It's an ad for Charmin, period, not a product, an ad. And they even bought special placement at a special event at the very beginning before CES even starts because they know mainstream media is so lazy. They'll take a picture of it. Maybe they'll get the pizza-making robot, and they'll go home. Yeah, we covered CES. Got the highlights for you. I kind of made a point of not covering stuff that you can't buy. And there's a lot of it at CES. There's concept cars, concept bikes, concept TVs. There was a concept refrigerator. LG was showing a refrigerator you can grow herbs in. specially climate controlled, probably just an old wine refrigerator. They repurposed and put herbs in there because you control the humidity, control the temperature, so it's perfect growing for the herbs in your refrigerator. I said, when's that going to be for sale? Well, 2021, that's the big one. They say, next year. That means never. Or maybe, or, next year. How much? Whoa, we haven't set a price yet. That's the other big one. I went over to the Segway, the 9bot guys, the people who bought the Segway name, and they continue to make those Segway scooters, the two-wheel balancing things you ride around on, look like a dork. They have now a chair, so you can ride around and look like a lazy dork. It's like a beautiful, comfy egg chair on wheels, 2 wheels, still balances, 24 miles an hour, top speed. They weren't going anywhere with it. They made you put a helmet on before you could sit in it, but it was going anywhere. It's like putting on a helmet to sit in a chair. It's like it's not going anywhere, but I think it made you feel like you could be going somewhere. I said, when's this going to be available? Someday. How much? We haven't decided on a price yet. $5,000? We haven't decided on a price yet. $10,000? We haven't decided on a price yet. $1.99? We haven't decided on a price yet. Oh, okay. So apparently there is a test track somewhere, and you could drive it. I bet it is fun to drive. So The Verge got to drive it. So I guess they did need to wear a helmet. I didn't get to drive it. The S-Pod, they call it. When is it available? Well, someday. How much? Well, we don't know. I wouldn't get too excited yet. 8888, ask Leo. Trade show's full of stuff like that. Chris on the line from Orange. Hello, Chris. Leo Laporte.
How are you, Leo?
I am well. How are you?
I'm doing well. Leo, I've got a question. I have been looking lately into these robotic video cameras that I could track my son as he plays hockey.
Oh, cool.
And I'm getting some different input from people, and I'm wondering what your thoughts are. The one I'm looking at right now is what's called a solo shot, and it's got a transponder that he would wear on the sleeve, and the camera would track that, zoom in, zoom out, pan, and tilt. The closer he gets, the further he gets away, all that kind of stuff.
That's really cool, and we've seen that in drones. That'll follow you. I saw it at CES with a suitcase that would follow you. Same idea. You put on a bracelet. The suitcase knows where you are. I see no reason why this wouldn't work. How much is the solo shot?
They have a couple different models. One would come with a camera. One you would use your own camera, and it's capable of using a couple different Sony hand cams. It will use the zoom technology through the solo shot and the camera, so it works hands-free.
Nice.
But roughly it's about $700 to, I want to say $1,200. But there's a number of different cameras manufacturers. Some are very expensive.
Yeah.
Professional kind of things that is a little out of my budget.
I have zero experience with the solo shot or any of these. We've used what they call PTZ cameras, pan, tilt, zoom cameras, that are remote, but you use a joystick. The camera operator uses a joystick. But clearly, if you want to follow your son playing hockey, that's going to take more than a PTZ camera to keep up with him. He moves fast.
Yeah, they put them on surfers. They put on everything.
This sounds really cool. I'm gonna have to order one and give you a review because I was not aware of this. The technology I'm well aware of, and it works very well. But I haven't seen it on a camera before. So
I guess the biggest drawback right now is that outdoor. It works beautifully because of the GPS. But when you go inside a building, you have to set up a couple transponders around the arena, so to speak, so the camera has some point of reference.
Yeah. And I have to be honest with you, GPS is not very fast, as you probably know if you try to use your GPS in your car and you miss a turn, and then it says turn. So I wonder how well it could do this. That's interesting. There's one I see also from a company called Movense, Movense, that has an adapter just for your smartphone. So it's the same idea.
Right.
Yeah. Panning head.
Pixio is is also coming out with a version that utilizes your cell phone. Also,
Yeah,
as well as
that's the one I'm looking at. Pixum and Pixio.
Right.
We're gonna watch. It tracks you automatically. Interesting. You know, if they used Bluetooth or Bluetooth LE, it would be limited to 10 meters, 30 feet. That's not going to work.
Nope. That's not gonna work.
I could see why you'd have to set up transponders. In fact, I don't even know if GPS, even if you're outside, would be fast enough.
I may be mistaken. It might be just a line of sight deal with the transponder and the camera itself.
Yeah.
As long as the camera can see you direct line of sight, then
I think, yeah.
back very well.
There's got to be a way to do this. I mean, you could do it with RF, I guess. Pixio claims they work indoors and outdoors. They're about the same price.
Yeah.
I can't give you any hands-on experience. I haven't had any, but maybe somebody listening has. I think you're asking the right question. Especially with hockey, your kid's moving fast.
Very.
Can it keep up? Can it follow him?
Right.
Yeah.
They do use it in horse arenas. I have seen videos of horse jumping contests, and the solo shot was the camera that was being used, and it was right on track. It was a beautiful video. I mean, the focus was very clear. The rider and the horse were centered in the frame. It was actually very impressive, which is why I got very interested in it when I saw that video.
I don't think they're moving as fast as your son is when he's skating. When he's got the puck and he's skating for the goal, it's probably a little faster than that.
Yep.
That would be the real challenge of tracking itself. Not hard. Tracking a fast-moving object might be more challenging.
Right. Yeah. Okay, well, if any of your listeners have any experience with any of these cameras, I would love
That would be great, yeah. Please call in, 8888 Ask Leo, or you can also join us in the chat room, irc.twit.tv. I'll be watching that. And we have a website, which I forgot to mention today, but I'll mention it now, techguylabs.com. That's free. There's no sign-up. And you can leave comments. So if you go to hour 3 of the show, segment 1, you can leave a comment there and say, hey, I've used it. Here's how it worked. I bet it works great on slow things. It's hockey players. That's going to be tough.
The surfers seem to move pretty quickly. So
surfing would be hard. Yeah, if it works with surfers, yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm very curious. I hope somebody out there can give me.
Yeah, I hope so too.
I'd really like to,
if they had a good return policy, you could buy it and let us know. I'll see if we can get a review unit. That's the best way to do this, and we'll get back to you. Hey, thanks for the call, and
for your help, Leo.
Thanks for telling me about these. That's very interesting. I'm not familiar with it. I do know the technology, and it's out there, and it exists. These drones that follow you around that really do a good job. Even as you're biking, which is fairly fast, they do a great job. Leo Laporte, your tech guy, taking your calls right after this. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888 Ask Leo. That's the phone number, 888-827-5536. Website, techguylabs.com. Joe on the line from Wickawatchee, Florida. Hello, Joe.
Hey, how's it going, Leo?
It's going great. How are you?
You caught me again. I was eating my 7x7.
Are you talking about an In-N-Out 7-patty burger?
Yeah, it's Steak and Shake. It's 7 patties, 7 slices of cheese for $7.77. You caught me the last time I called you eating one.
Well, that's a big burger. It probably takes a while to get through that. Man, why don't we have Steak and Shake out here? I'm going to St. Louis in March, and I'm definitely going to Steak and Shake.
You come down here, and I'll buy you one.
Deal.
All right.
Swallow, chew and swallow. Don't. I don't want you to choke on your 7x7.
Well, I'm kind of in training right now because I'm getting ready to go on another cruise, and that's all.
You got to practice eating. Got to practice it.
Absolutely.
Yep. Those dessert buffets aren't going to eat themselves. Mm-mm.
Oh man, the chocolate buffet is out of this world.
Oh man, what kind of cruises what cruise line you go on? What kind of cruises you like?
Harmony of the Seas.
Oh, I've been on the Anthem. That's a beautiful boat.
It is, and just everything is phenomenal. The crews, the food, the personnel are really great. All the people that work on board.
Nice. Yeah.
They do a great job.
Yeah, they work hard, man. It's nice that they are friendly.
Do you know how hard they work?
No, tell me. How hard do they work?
When you get on the ship, they're on there, right?
Yep.
When you leave the ship, they're on there.
Yep.
They stay on for 9 months.
Wow.
7 days a week working.
That's a long
9 months,
contract.
you get a 3-month vacation.
Yeah. That's a long contract. Wow.
They're 9 months, 7 days a week working.
That might be the longest contract in the cruise business. I've heard of 7 months, but 9 months. Wow.
Yeah, the captains get 6, and then they can go off on a vacation. So
apparently, they're
that's sort of what I want to talk to you about. I want you to settle a little discussion I'm having with my daughter.
Yes.
We're going to be doing another cruise, and I'm also going to be doing some train rides. And what I want to do, just for fun, is like videotape. I've seen a lot of videos like on Amtrak.
Oh, yeah.
We'll do little things about where they're going.
Before we rode the California Zephyr last week, I went and looked at the videos, and there's some beautiful 360-degree videos. You can really get a sense of what it's like to be on the train.
And that's what I want to do, just to have fun. It's not like it's something I'm going to do all the time, just once in a while. But I'm thinking, like with the GoPro, they have the chest thing you can put the camera on. They have a hat that you can put.
You wear it on a hat. I saw a lot of people with GoPros on their hat at CES.
And that's what I'm thinking about doing. But she's saying, no, I got a Galaxy Note 9, and that'd be just as good to do it with.
She says, that's okay. There's a subtext. Your daughter is also saying, Dad, I don't want to be next to you if you look like a dork wearing a GoPro on your chest, forehead, or hat. Yeah, your Galaxy 9 is very good. What I would say it's probably as good as a GoPro. The later Galaxies. So what you're going to look for that really makes a difference is image stabilization in video. All the newer stuff. I don't know if the 9 did. The 10 does have image. I think the 9 did have image stabilization in video as well. That's going to make a big difference because as you walk around, especially if you're on a train, it's going to be a little bumpy. But the image stabilization really helps with that. The other thing you might want to look at that could go with her S9 is a gimbal. A lot of people use these, and they're really getting good. These they look like little selfie sticks, but they have the machine gimbal in them. I guess we lost them, but I'll still answer. That stabilizes the image. So if you don't have a good image stabilizing camera, take a look at DJI's Osmo. The Osmos are gimbals. I saw a lot of those at CES as well. And those things make a big difference in the image stabilization. So DJI.com/Osmo. They have a variety. They have an Osmo Pocket, which has its own camera. But they also have Osmo mobiles that you put your phone in. You walk around with it, and even if you're running, even if you're jogging, it stabilizes the image considerably. It can make a huge difference. This is basically the same technology that they used in their DJI Phantoms, their drones, and they're moving them over to a little handheld stabilizer. Think of it as a stabilizer. They call them gimbals. This episode of The Tech Guy is always brought to you by Epson's EcoTank printers. You can kiss expensive cartridges goodbye. The Epson EcoTank printer comes with a ridiculous amount of ink in the box. Just fill and chill. You find out more about those EcoTank printers at Epson.com/EcoTankLeo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. GizWiz coming up in about 15. His best tech from CES. Leo Laporte. Everybody on board. Let's take a ride. 8888 Ask Leo. That's my phone number, 888-827-5536. We're talking high tech. The Tech Guy Show on the air. Line 3. It's Jerry in Hatfield, PA. Hello, Jerry.
Hello, Leo. Just a couple comments. 2 callers ago, the man who wanted to film his son playing hockey?
Yeah, he wanted one of those special cameras that follows you automatically.
I don't know, but an educated guess is that the kid's wearing an IR emitter.
Oh, you think infrared?
Yeah. I'm thinking
that would make sense. Then the camera would see it.
Yeah, remember about 40 years ago they had infrared in a puck on TV, and it would highlight the puck?
Yeah. That special puck technology.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, and then another one. Are you a hobby machinist?
I am not. You notice, though, that I have a
234 block.
A 234 block. I bought this online. I just think it's really cool. This thing is machined to a very high precision. And so, yeah, only a machinist would know what this paperweight I have on my desk is, but that's exactly what that is, a 234 block, yeah.
Now for my question, Leo.
So I'm not a hobby machinist, but I have huge respect for precision machinists. That's an amazing thing. Yes,
now
go ahead.
My horrible question.
Yes, sir.
I purchased a SDR USB dongle and followed the instructions and downloaded everything. And after about an hour and a half, I finally got the darn thing to work.
Okay.
So then I turn my computer off. The next day, I come back in and plug the USB dongle back in. Nothing happens. I have to go through the whole procedure. It's really frustrating.
Yeah, no kidding.
What am I doing wrong?
I have no idea. SDR stands for Software Defined Radio. So not only are you a machinist, you're a amateur radio operator.
Well, I want to be.
I want to be. And these dongles are cool because software-defined radio, as you might guess, means you don't need an analog tuner. You know, the old days, and I used to, when I was a kid, I loved listening to shortwave broadcasts from all over the world and had a very sensitive tuner and a dial, and you dial slowly through the radio spectrum trying to find those broadcasts out of Moscow. Gabarit Moskva. Yeah. Remember those days? So nowadays, you don't need a tuner. You can do it all in software. They call them software-defined radios. And even the very fancy ham radios. I have an ICOM, very fancy ICOM. It's used for distance listening. And, it's big old thing. I thought, well, this must have a tuner in it. And then when I bought a couple extra modules, they just put more software in it. It's all software. It's a computer. So the idea of an SDR is kind of cool because you could buy, as you have, a USB dongle that has a software-defined radio in it, and then you could do that shortwave listening.
2 hours to get it to work.
Well, here's the problem. It's kind of been a problem in general in ham radio. The Chinese have moved in big time. And companies like, is Baofeng? I can't remember, but there are a number of companies that make these inexpensive ham handsets and radios, and they've really taken over the market. And now they're moving into this SDR, these SDR USB dongles. But in my opinion, there's nobody holding their feet to the fire. They're kind of no-name brands. Good luck calling somebody and saying it's not working. I think sometimes you just get devices that aren't great, but I bet you didn't pay more than $20 on it, right?
That's right. $25. Yeah.
So it sounds like you got one that's not saving its memory. Are you using it on a PC?
Yeah, I am.
Honestly, I don't even know if you need a dongle. I think you might just if you go out and buy software that would do the same thing. The dongle's convenient, but it sounds like it's just not saving its settings. And that sounds like a flaw in the dongle. One thing I would say one of the things you have to do with this dongle is install drivers, right? So there is one thing that everybody does wrong with USB, and they usually say it in big letters on the USB device, is turn on your computer, power it up, and then plug in the device. Because what happens with Windows is you plug in the USB device, it goes, what? Oh my, there's a new thing. And you hear that bing bong as it's downloading drivers. So that would be the only thing. I would want to make sure that you got the drivers for that SDR properly installed. Because without the drivers, it isn't going to save its settings. So turn off the computer all the way off, unplug the device, turn the computer all the way on, let it sit, and then plug in the device. See if you hear the bing bong and see if the device mounts. Make sure it installs the drivers. You'll usually see a pop-up that says installing drivers.
I hear the ding dong, but I get no graphic on my screen showing me what's happening. I just hear the ding dong, and that's it. And I have to go through.
It might be also not detecting it properly. So that's the other possibility, because that's what you need. You need those drivers, and I wouldn't be surprised without the drivers. It just it works though, right? It's just maybe not saving properly to the hard drive.
Well, it took me like an hour and a half, 2 hours to get the thing to work right after.
Yeah, you got to configure it, right? There's all this little fiddly bits, and then if it doesn't save it, well, what good is that?
Right. They do make the console SDRs, though. I've seen that.
So it's the same company?
Different companies, but they're about $300-400 as opposed to $20.
Yeah, they're more expensive. I like the idea of the USB. I just think maybe so if it's not defective, which is always a possibility, and good luck finding a phone number. If it's not defective, then I would say make sure you're getting. And maybe even go to if you could find, if there's a website even for this company, go to the website, see if you can download drivers for it. I think that's probably the issue, is that Windows has to see this as a radio device. And
they do include a website to go to, and I've done that. I downloaded the drivers, all kinds of crap.
Look in that little system, the little on the lower right, that little system tray.
It doesn't show.
It's not showing up. That to me sounds like whatever's happening is Windows is not seeing it as an SDR, a software-defined radio, and as a result, I mean, if you can contact the company, I'd say that's the thing. It's probably, here's what I would do: get that model number. It's going to be written on there on the packaging, and Google it, and exactly this problem, because these things are so cheap. I think a lot of people buy them. I have no idea what's wrong, but it sounds to me like it's a common USB problem, which is that Windows isn't seeing it as an SDR, and so it needs that software. And so I would just Google it and see if anybody else has that experience. I bet you there's a little fix. I would be willing to bet that. Let me see if I can get one more person in here before we get to Dick DeBartolo's CES Adventure. Don in Malibu. Hello, Don.
Hey, good afternoon to you, Leo. A quick question for you. I know you got people online. I have somebody that's sending me a string of text messages.
Yes.
And they're just filthy and arrogant and all this. What I want to do is I want to transfer the SMS and the MMS messages to an email account. Do you know of an app or a program that's applicable where I could do that?
Yeah.
It's taking screenshot. I mean, there's well over 100 of them, and that would be a tedious.
What kind of phone?
It's a Samsung Active.
Android phone. Okay.
Yes.
There are lots of ways. It's actually something fairly easy to do on Android. There are lots of ways to save your text messages on an Android phone just by downloading an app. And once you've saved them as a text file, of course, you can print them or you can email them or you can do anything you want. Let me see. I don't, off the top of my head, know the names of all these apps. Android does have a built-in backup for SMS messages in the settings, so you can go there.
Yeah.
And let's see.
Then I go and it restores.
Yeah, that's no good. What you want is the text, don't you? Hang on, I'll get you a list of applications. Oh, here's one I've used: SMS Backup Plus. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Let me see here. I'm looking at an article by Android Police from August. Okay. SMS Android Plus. That will let you back it up to it. See, what you want is not to back it up to a file that you can't read.
Correct.
Carbonite used to have one. Let's see. I want to see that you can save it. Yeah, this one will work.
Send them to my Gmail account,
Yeah. SMS Backup and Restore, which Carbonite used to offer as a free program, has been sold. It's still out there from Syntech. It's free. And it will also back up to Google Drive. Once you've got it backed up, you should be able to open it and then print it out or mail it. Yeah, I think I would.
The Samsung app in settings, and I even called Samsung, and it stores it to the Samsung.
It's a data
cloud,
dump.
I don't like.
Yeah. It's a data dump. You want the text of all those messages.
Correct.
There are. I would go to the Play Store and just look for SMS backup, and there are a dozen programs that will do it. Take a look at SMS Backup Plus. And then the formerly Carbonite app. Yeah, they're in the Play Store.
Okay, yeah.
SMS Backup and Restore.
Because,
You're welcome. I'm sorry that's happening to you.
Knowledge base, and there's so many out there that I don't know if I trusted. So that's the reason why I was able. By the way,
both of those are good programs that I trust.
Show.
Thank you.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. I'm sorry you're getting harassed like that. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. And the best part of CES, I haven't been in 8 years, was seeing Dick DeBartolo hanging out with our gizmo wizard, the Giz Wiz, Mad Magazine's maddest writer. We had so much fun at CES, showing off the little 9-bot Segway chair, the Charmin toilet paper robot.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. And also, I have to thank you because when the waiter came around with the food, you said, "Give me the check." And so that was very kind of you.
You mean the free food? Yeah.
Yes, the free food.
Yeah, give me the check. No, I'll take it from here. So that is one of the things that happens at CES is the PR companies will get together and feed you because they know that the working press is pathetically poor and hungry, and so they will feed you all sorts of food just to get you to look at their product. I was walking around and some guy walks up with a plate full of sliders. They're Impossible Burgers, those vegetable burgers. Did you have any of the Impossible Burgers?
I did.
Those were good?
They were very good. They were excellent.
They were excellent. They tasted just like sliders.
Yeah.
There were people handing out all sorts of things. There was one booth that had crudité, had little veggies on skewers with dipping sauce in it. I guess anything to get people, because you know why? Because what they used to do is they put attractive women in skimpy outfits, but they can't do that anymore. So now they give you food.
Now they give you veggies and skimpy dressing.
Yes.
As close as they can get.
So tell me what your impression was of CES. Anything interesting you thought?
You know what? Well, first of all, there was no shortage of bizarre gadgets. No. There was one at Showstoppers. I couldn't believe. So I go over and this man has a door with a full-length mirror on it, and I said, "So what's unique about this mirror?" I think it's called Project Nessa, Nessa, and he said, "Well, this is mainly for women.
Yeah.
So they're business women. So they're going to a meeting. They stand in front of this mirror, and on the app, they tell the app to take a picture of you." Wearing what you're wearing, and then you put notes as to what meeting you're going. And then after a month or so, when you stand in front of the mirror, if the mirror lights up red, you've worn that before.
Oh, no.
And you should look.
I'm sorry, Dick, you've worn that outfit before. You shouldn't wear it again.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's terrible.
And then the most bizarre, I think.
Did they call it the outfit shaming mirror?
No, it's from a company called Shiftall. Shiftall. Okay.
I'm not touching that one.
There. He had a plastic cup. You put ice in it and had a little fan that you hold up and you cool yourself off. And I said, "What is that? Is that like $30?" And he said, "No, it's $130."
What? For a fan with a cup of ice?
I said, "Rechargeable batteries?" He said, "No, 3 AA's." Anyway,
what?
But Leo, the find of the day.
Yes.
I don't know if you went to the French Pavilion.
Yes.
I
did go to the French Pavilion. Go ahead.
Did you see the smart potato?
No. But I got one to match the smart potato. Tell me about the smart potato.
Oh, okay.
Because I went to the Italian Pavilion.
Okay. Yeah. So if you go to my website, you'll see a picture of the guy with it. So the smart potato, little device that you plug into any organic. They stress organic potato.
Oh, it has to be organic.
Organic. Okay, then the gold electrodes pick up potato brain waves.
Oh.
And then through the
potatoes have brains?
Yeah, well, they have potato brains. But they have potato language, and the little processor in there translates it into a Bluetooth connection that goes to your phone. And the guy said, that next year, instead of saying the two, the Alex A or the other home product, you will be saying,
"Hey, potato."
Hey, potato.
I love this.
So,
his booth says, "Drop your business card, win a potato."
Potato. So, Leo, when I got back to the hotel, I thought, you know what? Let me see if I can find out anything about this guy. And I went website after website, and it seems like I found a French newspaper translated into. So this guy, the whole booth is theoretically a satire.
Oh, good.
So that you could go in with any cockamamie project and rent booth. Now, this guy must have money because a booth down there is $4,000.
His booth sign says potato. Say hello to the future.
Yes, exactly. It's just called potato. So you would say, "Hi, potato. Should I buy?" And it's not even complicated answers. "Hi, potato. Should I buy the iPhone 11? He holds up the answer. It's no.
It's like the Magic 8-Ball, only it's a potato.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I found in the Italian area of the same innovation pavilion.
The smart pizza?
It's the Keurig of olive oil. Now, I was disappointed because I thought you put olives in and it made olive oil. But no, you have to buy special frozen olive oil capsules that you put in. You press a button and olive oil comes out of the Keurig of olive oil. Then there's a lot of Keurigovs. The Keurig of muffin ovens, a special oven with a capsule. You put in the oven, you press a button, 1 minute later, you got a muffin.
Oh, you put it into your regular oven.
No. You have to buy a special oven. It's kind of like the Easy Bake Oven. It's the Keurig of Easy Bake Ovens.
Yeah. No, I was talking about one booth. I didn't even stop. The guy had a coffee pot. It must have had 87 buttons on it. And as I was walking by, he's saying, "This button, you tell it how hard the water is that you're putting into the coffee cup." And I'm thinking, wait a minute, I need coffee like in 2 minutes. I haven't got time to go and fiddle with 30 knobs. It's
pretty funny. The last thing you want to do if you need coffee is to have to figure out a coffee maker.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I had spilled coffee on my name tag, and the next morning I was licking my name tag on the way. Desperately on the way to Starbucks. I figured there might be some nutrition here, some hint of coffee.
Dick
So are you going to
DeBartolo,
go back?
You're crazy. Yes? Going back to CES? No, not for another 8 years. It was 8 years.
All right.
And now I'm going to wait another 8 years.
Okay.
Because there's not enough change if you go from year to year. You got to spread it out. In fact, I'm thinking it might have been better if I'd waited 10 years.
Okay.
10 years. Maybe by then they'll have perfected the smart potato and the Keurig of olive oil. And the future is ours.
Well, I'll let you know how the progress is going when I go back year
Read
after
more
year.
about the smart potato at Dick's site, GizWiz, GIZWIZ.biz. You can also follow his GizWiz podcast because you did a bunch of stuff from CES, GizWiz.tv. We also did a little bit of our own at twit.tv/events.
Yeah, that was great fun.
Had a lot of fun with Dick.
Ant is really great. He's a wonderful person.
Yeah. Ant Pruitt was my co-host, Leo and Ant's excellent CES adventure. It was mostly excellent because of Dick DeBartolo. Thank you, Dickie D. I'm glad neither you nor I suffered any ill effects from our trip to Las Vegas.
Not at all.
It's pretty good. There were some things I did want, I have to say, and the ill effect will be delayed, but I have a feeling I'll be spending a lot of money over the next few months. There was a Panasonic video camera I thought it was really good. Those new Micro LED 8K TVs, I can't wait.
That Lenovo folding tablet was kind of nice.
Wasn't that cool, too?
Yeah, that was a beauty.
The new Dell 13-inch XPS, gorgeous. There were a lot of neat things at CES, but you were the neatest. Thank you, Dick DeBartolo.
Okay, buddy.
GizWiz.biz. Don't forget to play the What the Heck Is It contest, too, for a chance to win an autographed copy of Mad Magazine from our friend Dickie D. Thank you, Lady Laura, our musical director, for spinning the discs. Thank you to Kim Schaffer, our phone angel, for answering the phones. Most of all, thanks to you for calling and for listening. We really wouldn't want to do this show if you weren't. Thank you. I'll be back next time. I hope you will too. I am Leo Laporte, your tech guy. Have a great Geek Week. Take care. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on MacBreak Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time.